Welcome back. Welcome to part two to the Burn Live Show. Sorry for the technical difficulties with it earlier. I don't know what happened. Um, Hopefully, we can get somewhere. Um, my buttons still don't work, so we're okay with that. We're not tripping off that. Like I said, yo, today's episode we're gonna be talking about a debate, and we're gonna be going over the Alex Jones show and learning some things that you probably didn't know. Um, Alex Jones show is really the one that I am highly anticipating on because it was a lot of things to break down and discuss and things that I can actually talk over with you guys that I was a part of when I was coming up. So that's why I'm highly interested in doing this segment today. I hope today is a good show. We'll pray for tomorrow to be a better one. The first one is a debate. Brandon went up there to New York, had a debate. I tried to find the full video of it. I still believe that this video right here breaks a lot of things down, discusses some things. It has a good mindset going forward of how we should start thinking and what we should start doing for as black people in the community. I know people are like, what are you talking about? So, without further ado, I'm going to get into this story.
Power that many of our counterparts enjoy in this country, some of the issues that we face, we wouldn't have those.
Officer Tatum, you want to weigh in on this topic?
Yeah, I think that a lot of our issue comes from right here in the mind.
Over the past 6 months, we have been investigating as well as exposing the truth behind all of these food processing plants that have been catching on fire and burning to the ground. The Dutch farmers in the...
And I would say that leads from the lack of education. The reason we vote the way we do is from a lack of education. The reason that we think, and no disrespect to the young lady, that we think that somehow our issues are external is a lack of education and knowledge. I honestly believe that we are the arbiters of our success. If we have problems in the inner city communities, we have to look in the mirror first. We have to look in the mirror first. Because on this panel, I highly doubt that anybody on this panel is affected by systemic issues and the systematic oppression.
That's not true.
I said I highly doubt that none of us are affected. I'm a successful black man. I got an education. I own my own business. I employ black people in my business, and I pay them very well. Why? Because they're qualified. They do what it takes. They come, they interview, and I give them opportunities, and that beget other opportunities. So I honestly think that the person in the mirror is the biggest, problem or success factor in the black community.
The other day, I was reflecting on my grandmother, and I was raised by my grandmother, my maternal grandmother. Both my parents were incarcerated on a federal level when I was approximately 5 years old. And I thought about something. My grandmother told me one day, she said, do you know that you are the first generation that was born free in this country? I said, what do you mean by that? She said, you were born in late 1970s. And I said, yeah. She said, well, when I was born one generation from a descendant of a slave. When your mother was born, she was born in Jim Crow. And so I was the first generation that was born fully free in this country. Why am I bringing that up? I'm glad that you asked that question. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because we are not too far removed from the institutional racism as it relates to signs, as it relates to legislation, et cetera, that keeps people like you, like me, like her, and like you, successful brother, in bondage.
Can I jump in on this real quick?
Brandon, before you do.
And let me say this, even though you were the first generation, look at how much you've been able to accomplish. How much barriers do you have if you've been able to accomplish so much and you're only the first generation?
Well, let me tell you about my barriers.
So that,
as a felon, as a person with a felony conviction.
Let me just.
I can tell you about my barriers. There are more than 46,000 collateral consequences to one felony conviction in the United States of America.
What did you do? What did you do to go to jail?
I was involved in criminal enterprising.
There you go. So Let me
What
just
does
say,
it
let
have
me
to
just
do
say
with
this.
being
The
successful or
reason
not?
that I say that is because it's the same person in the mirror. The justice system, the white man, systemic racism, none of that had anything to do with the reason why you went to prison.
Nah, I didn't get
No,
get
I'm
prosecuted
just
by a
saying.
white man. I got prosecuted by a black prosecutor. I got prosecuted by a black. I got sentenced by a black judge. This wasn't about white. This
But
wasn't about black.
Hang
Well,
on
this
one
is the
second.
system-
Hang on one
systemic
second.
racism.
The system in and of itself, I'm telling you, the reason why you went there and I didn't is because decisions that you made and I didn't make those decisions. And the reason why you're successful now are the positive decisions that you made learning from the experience. Those are decisions
I really want y'all to really listen to this, bros. Please listen to this, bros.
that you're making are the arbiters of your success. It has nothing to do with these external factors. You were able to get out of prison, have the experience, and now you're able to free other people. In America, you can do that. In other places, I can't attest to that. But America forced that opportunity. There's no systems that have stopped you. Have it? I think that is damaging now by having diversity, inclusion, and all that stuff. What it does is it separates us.
What?
It really does. It separates
How?
us because
You don't
if
want
you
people
listen-
to know about
no.
our culture?
Let me, I am an entrepreneur. I hire people for a living. I do not discriminate against individuals who come to my workforce. If I have qualified black people, I'm going to hire qualified black people. What we should be focusing on is having them qualified instead of just giving them a handout because we need to reach numbers. We need young. This is the problem that's happening. I'm gonna shut up. I promise. The problem that's happening is that we're not focused on making sure these young people are successful coming out of school. They're prepared to go to work. They're prepared to interview. We're not prepping them there. We want to go on the back end and say, well, I have 10 white people. I need 3 more black people. I'm just going to hire them because we need to meet a quota. That's not the way to do it because they come, they're unprepared, and they're not going to be successful. What we need to do is help them on the back end, make sure they're successful and prepared, send them out in the workforce where they are competitive, and therefore they can compete just like everybody else.
I was raised by a single parent. And I feel that I'm considered one of the people that is successful when we talk about, what success looks like within the Black community. But even still, even being raised, in a single family, being educated, having a successful job, a successful career, I still understand that there are systematic things in this country that are against me. And I don't care how people look
Name
at that.
one.
I look in the banking. I talked about that earlier. The ability to
No, for you.
for me, I'm saying banking, yes, specifically. So just to give you a real life example, in 2020 during the pandemic, I went to my bank. I have good credit. I've paid back my student loans. I, don't have any outstanding debt to income ratio, and I could not get $60,000. And I asked my bank, why was I denied a person who has A1 credit, don't have any student loans? I have, 2 or 3 properties. Why am I being denied a $60,000 personal loan? And you know what?
They said because you're black?
They didn't give me an answer.
Well, how do you know it's because you're black?
What I'm saying is
Wait,
wait a minute. There are
How
no
do you know it's because of the
indicators.
color of your skin?
What I'm saying is there are no indicators for why I should have been denied. That's what I'm saying.
Do you know that any white people have been denied with the same qualifications?
I don't know because I didn't go out and poll white people.
there's
You're
no way.
This isn't a conversation about white people. This is a conversation about me.
No, but
You're
there's no way.
acknowledging a hindrance.
you're-
You're acknowledging a hindrance to
I'm
your.
acknowledging a hindrance in what you're considering to be a successful person doing what they're supposed to do, going out and working, having good credit, paying their bills on time, and still being denied with no reason given.
As a black
That's what I'm-
person,
as a
you're
black
saying that
person,
happened to you
I'm saying
because
that
you were
happened
black.
to me. What I'm saying is,
It hap-
yes,
it
yes,
happened.
I'm saying it happened,
Okay.
and I happen to be black. Yes.
Kalea, I want to talk about
But wait
immigration.
a minute, I'd like Brandon to respond to that. I see you sat back. You're frustrated.
Listen,
I'd like you to respond.
I will.
Yeah.
You got 2
Listen,
minutes.
2 minutes. All I want to say is that I can fight with you if we have evidence. If you went to the bank and you have evidence that they've been giving loans to people with equal qualification as you have, and because you being black, they denied you, let's go to the bank and let's show up. Let's pull up. Okay. But the thing is that it's not fair to make that determination without unequivocal facts, because what it does is it generates this idea that it's because you're black. There may be something or that you could have changed on you when you made the application or not that could have caused you to get the loan. There's some educational points there that could have been effective, but you can't just say it's your race, because then you're telling the next young person and the next young black person, and before you know it, they don't even give it a try when you're saying something that's not verified.
No, I'm not saying. I'm gonna let you get your applause. What I'm saying is the same grace that you're asking me to give the bank and saying that maybe it didn't happen because I'm black. I'm asking for that same grace to say that that absolutely could have been a qualifier in their decision to deny me, but they didn't give me that information. And so the same way that I'm making an example that we don't know. So
It could have
just
been
as you're
because you were
saying,
female.
We
It could
like
have been because
Brandon,
of anything.
you don't
It
know.
could have
And I
been-
don't know
it
because
could have
you know
been-
what? They didn't give me the
They
information.
could have been jealous of you. They see you
It
come
could have
in
been
looking
anything.
nice. They be hating on you. It could have been hating. It could have been because you're a
Gates
woman.
do
It could have
not
been
like
because
pink.
who
I
knows?
have
What I'm
the
also
facts on
just
that.
asking you to consider is that it also could have been my race.
I-
That's all I'm asking
do.
you to consider.
I know,
I'm
I do.
asking you to consider
About
that
2
as
minutes.
well.
I think that that's fair to consider that, and I will. But we
You see how she pleaded and I don't. It could have been because I was colored. It could have been because I was a woman. It could have been because I had this pink dress on. It could have been because of anything. But you want to make sure that that race card was pulled. That's what we be talking about. That's what I be discussing on here. That point right there, ladies and gentlemen, is why we are suffering as black people in America. Flat out. I'm just gonna keep it 100. This is why we're suffering here in America. When I seen this video, I was so lovely to watch it and understand it and dissect it. I couldn't wait to do a video. I even though I might go live here and do this with you guys, I still might stop and do another video talking about this just so I can upload it and go into depth, because this video needs to go viral. I know it's not gonna go viral because it's black on black good conversation, and it's not about relationships. That's why it's not gonna go viral. But I'm gonna help it try to go viral and spread this out. I think this is one of the beautifulest messages that's been put together so we can stop this mindset, bros.
cannot make the determination, right? But we'll consider it. You know, in this country, if black people, if we're caring about what our efforts are and our effectiveness in this country is, if we get overtaken by people who shouldn't even be in this country, that didn't fight to belong in this country, didn't die, didn't shed blood, wasn't in the Civil War, wasn't a slave in this country. The law wasn't even prepared for people to come here illegally. It was prepared for black people who belong here. If we get overtaken by them, then what are we gonna do? We're having abortions at a crazy rate. Therefore, we're not populating. We're at 12%. We're probably at 11% of the population. If there are 60% of the population, when we show up to vote, what kind of power you think we're going to have? And they came here illegally. Their ancestors were not here. They didn't go through the struggle. They didn't go through Jim Crow. You got to get in line and do it the right way. And you're not going to thwart opportunities for black people in this country. And if anybody cares about opportunities for black people, and they're saying they're not afforded these opportunities, they're getting taken away from them, this is one of the points that we should all be in unison on, is saying that these illegal people who come in this country that take opportunities from Americans is wrong.
Damn,
If you're someone that has a
commercials.
podcast, or maybe someone that's wanting to get into podcasting, there's a website called
Well, the way that I feel about this country is we're all illegals in this country.
No, we're not.
Yes, we are. No. First of all, I knew it'd be controversial. I knew it was going to be controversial to say that. I do believe that black people built this country for free. I do believe that.
Yo.
But I
Belief, y'all. You see how she said, I believe. Like, believe with what proof? That's all. This is why I became a conservative. Because it's like we believe things, but what proof? What do you got to back it up? I don't care about Jimmy and Shirley telling you What proof? What truly facts do you got to back that up off on? That's why black conservative, young black conservative, mid-age black conservatives have a problem with liberals and their ideology and how they think, because they think off belief. They don't go research it. They just like, oh, I believe it because I woke up and I felt like that should be the issue for today. That's where we're at today.
Also believe that we're all on stolen land. This is not our country. It's not. And so, because
whose country?
Native Americans,
Who? Which one? Which tribe?
I don't know which tribe.
The one who killed them to get them to kill the other ones to kill the other ones.
Listen,
Which tribe?
it's listen, let me say this. Do I believe that America has an immigration problem? Absolutely. I'll be the first person to say that. I don't believe any president, Democrat, Republican, has gotten it right. I think it's really a real challenge in this country.
Do you believe,
That
Crystal, that our
said-
immigration problem is disenfranchising blacks?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't think it is.
All right.
I reject the premise that quote unquote illegal immigrants are taking jobs away from black people. I reject that premise.
Okay, we're gonna go to solutions.
How do we do that? Stop focusing on the past. Stop blaming other people, and let's come together. Let me finish.
The past is a precursor.
Let's start making sure that we hit these pillars as a community. Let's start marrying these young women and staying at home and taking care of your responsibilities as a man. Let's start building wealth together. Instead of going and banking with Chase Bank, somebody go bank with a black bank. For all these people who
Give
have
me the
all
black
this
bank
money
to bank
together, let's how we can't come together and start pursuing black excellence. Instead of supporting illegal immigration, let's support our people right here in New York. Instead of putting these people up in a hotel, paying for them to eat, giving them access, giving them free medical insurance. Let's do that for the black people who are struggling right here in New York.
I love this speech. I had to play it. I had to play it for you guys. It was no other way. It was no other way. It was no other way. I had to play that for you guys because I had to get this message out to my people. Like this is the start. I had a good conversation with my mother earlier today, and we was talking about, just what we gonna do in the future. And my mom was like, she just waiting on Jesus to come. And I was just like, wait, mama, you want Jesus to come back already? You don't want to elect nobody else, try to get a younger president or any other person? She was like, no, nobody listen to Trump, nobody listen to Biden. She's waiting on Jesus. And I couldn't disagree with her. I thought, you know what I'm saying? She's actually on to something. That's a shame when a generation is ready for the world to end. To say, like, okay, yeah, this is cool. This is gonna be justified by saying that they're ready for the world to end. We as a community need to step up.
Learn more about you guys.
Need to step up. Need to step up, bro. I thought that was funny but sad at the same token. For real. That my mother, I love her to death, would even think like that. I thought she would say, hey, let Joe Biden, let Joe Biden talk or something. Now, this next video, I'm going to be breaking down, y'all. This is the one I really wanted to discuss because I have watched this man for a long time when before like Andrew Tate called out the Matrix. This man right here that I'm finna to bring up was calling out the Matrix. Okay. This man right here was calling out the Matrix. This is Alex Jones. I know people, you heard of him, the wildness, the craziness, the wild speculations. Some of my audience have not heard of Alex Jones. Not like that. So I am here to break down Alex Jones and discuss some things that when I start watching them, what made me get into him, what made him get into doing this, and some of these stories that you're gonna hear are deeper. It's deeper than what you would expect, y'all. I know the expected, unexpected, like the UFOs landing and stuff, but this interview right here, I promise you, is highly educational and entertaining.
Being in NASA. And so my dad got into that for a while. He never told me what he did. And then he decided like to get out of it and just be a doctor at a certain point. But the house was just full of all those Zbigniew Brzezinski books and Henry Kissinger stuff and just world politics and, just military manuals and just stuff everywhere. And my dad was just always voraciously reading. And so I just grew up basically around all this stuff. And it was particularly my mom's brother who died about 9 years ago, a really smart guy who got out of it. And then when he was dying of pneumonia, last time I saw him, I thought he was going to live, and he was dead a week later. He just said, "Well, I want you to know the stuff about them trafficking kids is true, and that's why I got out of what I was doing in Central America because they were smuggling kids out of orphanages and doing terrible things with them, and we just knew about it."
This is your mom's brother.
My mom's brother.
Yeah.
And of course, remember, this is 9 years ago, before all the migrant crisis
Yeah.
and the kids and the current smuggling. He was seeing it down there, and he said he and a bunch of his guys got out of it. Some of the guys he was with, the government killed.
And what was his background, your uncle?
He was a helicopter pilot in Vietnam. Okay. And mainly delivered special forces troops into Laos and places. And he worked for him. My mom doesn't like me telling this stuff because he told her about it, didn't tell me. And she says, it's embarrassing the family. But he was doing whatever he's told in Vietnam, and it was smuggling opium.
Your mom and dad, when they saw you when you first got into, you've been in this.
Now this is the beginning. So this is the beginning, yo. As y'all hear, we're getting that little background of Alex Jones, of how he grew up, his family members and stuff like that. I promise you, y'all, please stay tuned. It's really gonna get interesting.
The space of InfoWars, in which you've been doing for how long? 30 years, 28 years, 25 years?
29 years.
29 years. Okay. So when you first got in,
I was 20 years old.
You were 20 years old. Okay. So what was their initial reaction to it? Was it like, Alex, what are you doing? And it was we believe in you. We agree with you. You're talking too much. Relax. This is you going overboard. What was their reaction to this when you first got started?
My dad, for the first 5, 6, 7 years, was just sometimes say, you need to be careful what you're doing, and you can get killed doing this. And one time he said, I can have you talk to some people and get you out of this right now. And I said, the government's bad. He said, they are bad. They got to do bad things to protect this country. They're in charge because they're smart. And they're smarter than us.
What a thing to say.
And yeah.
They got to do bad things to protect the country.
Yeah. And well, because there's bad guys. And so we have
totally get it.
Yeah.
Totally get it.
And we have to fill the place of the bad guys so they don't control that space. Okay, you understand?
We got to fill the space of the bad guys so they don't control that space.
Yes, that's all Zbigniew Brzezinski, Harvard, Straussian, injustifies the mean stuff. This is the philosophy there, but they're really the bad guys. And then about 6 years into it, my dad came and apologized. He said, "No, you're right," and because the system wasn't that bad, as on the surface, 25 years ago.
Yeah.
But then when he was, "No, you're right," and like his cousin, would do stuff like, I'd be over there for coffee like once or twice a year, and he'd go, "Yeah, I've been reading some of the stuff you're doing. You better be careful. They're gonna kill your ass." And I didn't even know at that time that's what he did. I mean, I'm sitting there with an Army officer that,
So let me. I'm trying to get the dates right here because 29 years ago makes it 1996. Is it fair to say you started in 1996?
No, I started in 94.
94. Okay, so
And
I'm sorry,
Wikipedia is all
94.
wrong. Wikipedia,
29 years ago.
Wikipedia is all wrong. It says InfoWars started in 2019. That's just the way the internet registers it. Once I transferred it, it started in 1997. I got the website.
Perfect. So 1994, you get started. 6 years later, your dad is saying you're right. Is this pre you saying what's going to happen to the towers or what's going to happen? There's an attack that's going to happen in July. Was it pre that event, or did your dad say, I agree with what you're doing post that event?
No, he said he agreed with me right before that.
So pre 9/11, he agreed with you.
Yes.
And then what did he say to you after 9/11 when you're like, Dad, this is what's going to happen? I'm assuming you're talking to your mom and dad and like, hey, Alex, you sure about this? You just made that's a pretty outlandish claim you're making. And then boom, 9/11 happens. What's that immediate conversation like? With and the reason why I want to focus on parents is because my influence is my mom and dad. So it's kind of like there's, as you're making these types of claims, and let's just say you're on a crusade. I think you, in your mind, you think you're on a crusade, right? You
Definitely a
can't,
crusade.
you can't trust a lot of people. There's only a few people you can trust. They can let your guards down and just talk to them. I would assume your mom and dad are in that.
Oh yeah, they were always good people. They weren't villains. But my mom, has a degree in history. They were just always into this stuff, and they believed in America. And it's like a naiveness that, well, we do some bad things because we've got to beat the bad guys.
So they were more from the standpoint of, Alex, you got a million other things you can do. You're smart. Why are you doing this? This is not the life you want to live. Is it kind of like that message or no?
It was. We don't want you to get killed.
Okay,
I mean, they knew. They're like, look, you're young, and yeah, the system's bad. People try to work in it to fix it, and you need to be really. I mean, it was mainly you just need to be careful. I mean,
what was the first claim you made? Where the first one where people are like, oh shit, this guy's up to something. That was kind of weird. What's he talking about? What's the first thing you said that became a reality that at first everybody fought you on it? Because we have this one. If you can play this one here, this is July 25th of 2001. Okay.
Whose family builds all the
Go back.
military
Go back. There you go.
threat, like a bin Laden, who was a known CIA asset in the 80s, running the Mujahideen war, and whose family builds all the military bases over in Saudi Arabia right now, and sits on the board of Iridium Satellite. He's the boogeyman they need in this Orwellian phony system. A big part of this solution, after you research all the government terrorism and check out what I'm saying is true, call the White House and tell them, we know the government's planning terrorism. We know Oklahoma City and World Trade Center was terrorism. We know the Joint Chiefs of Staff wanted to blow up airliners, Baltimore Sun. If you do it, we're going to blame you because we know who's up to it. Or if you let some terrorist group do it, like the World Trade Center, we know who to blame. And if there was an outside threat like a bin Laden, who was a known CIA asset in the 80s.
So you say this pre it going national.
And by the way, I did a 2.5 hour show that people only have that clip. It's in one of my documentaries. I need to find it and re-upload it to the web because when they took me on my YouTube, it all got erased. That's a copy of a copy of a copy. I did 2.5 hours specifically saying they're going to blow up the World Trade Center. Call the White House, tell them don't blow up the World Trade Center. So I'll find that full clip this week because it needs to go up, and I'll put it back up.
Yeah, and by the way, we have your permission to use your clips. on the
Anything you
podcast.
want.
Yeah.
It's all free to air.
So okay. So when you did that, what is the reaction from that to 9/10? Like we're like, what are you talking about? That this is going to be happening? You must be losing your mind. Like, what was the reaction people gave when you first said that?
If y'all would have listened and sat back and watched Alex Jones' show before 9/11, hearing a guy talking about Twin Towers is going to fall, it's going to be the government's fault. How would y'all take that? How would y'all look at that? How could y'all dissect that? Now, I met Alex Jones before Trump got into office. A guy I worked with, a black guy I worked with, younger than me, wanted to look up a lot of conspiracy theories. And one of the best conspiracy theories people to look up at that time was Alex Jones. He was all over the place. A lot of CIA, FBI stories. He had documents. He had it all. By Fred Ward, if he's ever watching, he has a guy that he watches that's really are the conspiracy theories. Alex Jones 2.0. You know what I'm saying? I don't think nobody can do it like Alex Jones did it, because Alex Jones did it before the internet blew up, before, you know what I'm saying, covering up paperwork. You know what I'm saying? Now you got everybody wants to leak something.
Well, it's funny. I mean, I already had a local radio show in 2001, and I'd been fired off local radio, so I was doing it out of my house, but it was actually on satellite and on probably 100 stations by then. This is pre-YouTube, so if I wanted to be on TV, I'd use the studio as a local access station. So that's a 2.5 hour live show I did one night, a few months before 9/11. And what was the question?
No, what I'm trying to say is between this, when you make that claim,
I remember the question. I remember
pre 9/11, during that 2-month period, what's the reaction from people to you? And then right after 9/11 happens, what do people say about you?
Sure. What happens, I was kind of going back in my memory and then trying to find exactly. And that's why I was just kind of tracing back to the point, because then once I remember one thing, I remember the rest. This is a crazy story. Okay. So I would do live shows once a week there, but we'd turn a tape in that they'd air like 10 more times on average. So I shot this live, turned the tape in at Access TV, and on the night of 9/11, the 2.5 hour show aired. Wow. And I got death threats and everything else because they thought I was saying that day that the government had done it, when I was saying July 25th. But later, the date came out, people figured it out. So people were completely freaked out. They didn't know what was going on. A little bit after this happened, they sent some FBI agents, in like as plain clothes to the access station one night when I was there, trying to talk to me and stuff and asking me questions. And, hey, what do you know about terrorists? Do you know anything about like, teams or teams of people? And I'm thinking, oh, you're an FBI agent. Well, I don't know what you mean teams. They were trying to imply like I had terror teams or something. I guess this struck a nerve. So they sent in a couple FBI agents. But I was on my radio show. We ought to find the archives of that, saying they're going to do it, because I could see the pre-programming where they're saying terrorists are about to hit. And when the terrorists hit, you got to give up all your rights. And we're going to have troops in the streets and blah, blah, blah. And I saw a couple of globalists, Gary Hart and one other guy, on CNN, and this is right before I went on air and did this, and they were basically saying life's about to change, the world's about to be completely different, we're going to have to take your rights away, terrorists are about to hit. And I saw articles in the local paper saying that. I saw the pre-programming, like a rollout was happening, and I knew that Islamists had hit the towers in 1992. It was a real attack, but the FBI had cooked the bomb, allowed them to do it, protected them, blocked Ahmad Salam, the Egyptian.
Is this proven?
It all came out, yeah. And I've interviewed Ahmad Salam.
Can you pull that up? Go ahead, keep going.
Type in Ahmad Salam recordings, World Trade Center bombing. And
I don't think people understand how deep this goes and how much facts this man got. The man is telling you to go look it up. See, I wish I had my crew here. You know what I'm saying? My boy on here. Everybody got their little crew, the look up crew. Got the guy that does the talking, the interview, and stuff like that. Me, I got to do it all myself. Self-promotion, self-motivated. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my special engineer that does come over periodically and help me out. Without him, I would be stuck. But let's get back. Let's get more into this.
And so he gave a press conference where he recorded the FBI telling him, no, we're going to let the bombing go ahead, because he thought they were trying to set him up. And then and it did go forward. So I already knew about this. I had a lot of data and a lot of information feeding into. I thought they would go back and try to bring down the World Trade Center a second time, because in criminology, that's what happens. And they did have people on airplanes, and they were Islamicists, but it turns out they were CIA with double passports and were being protected. And they thought they were taking part in a hijacking drill that day. And then what really happened is they nerve gassed the people on the planes, from the best info we have, then remote controlled them into the towers. And then another one was supposed to hit the Pentagon, but people... despite the fact, and they have the stewardess recordings where they're saying, I can't breathe, there's gas. That's what's really happening again. But before they could do that, a F-16 and that's in the FAA recordings, put 2 AIM-9s into it and shot it down over Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I was in the United States Air Force while all that was happening, and I was on a shooting team. And 2 days before the competition, one of my sergeants, and I'm not going to say his name, was like, "Hey, Oshana, because I was the best shooter, Alex." He's like, "The competition's canceled." And I was like, "What are you, hot? Why?" 9/11 happens. And then we were warned. Rumsfeld went in front of the White House and he was like, something's happening where terrorism. He kind of warned us. Condoleezza Rice warned the mayor of, was it Chicago? Don't fly to New York this day. And then you nailed it, Alex, when you were talking about Osama bin Laden. Every flight in the entire United States was grounded. There was a couple F-16s circling. The only commercial flights that were left from here flew to Ramstein, Germany, and it was Osama bin Laden's entire family.
They flew them all out. And that was on local Miami news. They flew them out of here.
Yeah, 100%.
Or just north of here. So, and there's video of it. But it gets worse. What I'm saying, there's thousands of pieces of data. They didn't find one. They found 2 hijackers' passports unburned in that whole explosion. So you got 10 feet of dust everywhere, billions of papers, but those get found the next day. Believe that? So and it goes on for days. But I interviewed the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff right before he died about this, and a bunch of other people. And they told me before it came out a few years later that all the top generals were supposed to go to New York that day for a big meeting. They got told not to go. And remember, the Pentagon asked InfraGard leaders a month before, about 2 weeks before. You pull these up in articles. That's all that corporate executives, get approached to be part of Homeland Security before they announce that name, and infrastructure protection and the whole shadow government program. They flew him to Offutt Air Force Base. Was that the one? It's just from memory. It's just ancient history. They flew them all to an Air Force base and had them in a hangar when the attack was happening and closed the doors and gave them some secret briefing.
Mm-hmm.
Look up business leaders, billionaires flown to Air Force Base in 9/11. It's all up there. And this is such ancient history. I haven't gone over this in years. I should write a book on 9/11 and go back over it all. I mean, it is just insane.
If you could break down all the conspiracy theories regarding 9/11, true, false, this, that, the other, and if you can break it down to the lowest common denominator of who was involved, the motivation, what actually happened, what transpired more than meets the eye, how would you break that down in as few words as possible?
Well, what we have is perception management going on. And so this submarine thing, the Titan and the Titanic, all of this is a great window into this. I don't know what really happened there. We know we're being lied to. We know the Navy and the Coast Guard have incredible sonar. That area in the Atlantic's heavily covered because of nuclear submarine stuff. And they know the signature of an imploding vessel. It's been studied heavily. And they also know the sound of it hitting the bottom. I mean, they can hear somebody thumping on the side of a submarine 3,000 miles away. And they've got signatures. There's been hundreds.
Did y'all just hear that? So y'all know that the submarine that's going on, which I'm not gonna get too deep into it, but just listening by that they know what's going on with them people. May they rest in peace. Knew what was going on.
Billions of dollars put into these acoustic sonar systems and other things. And they've got even more advanced stuff like that deals with these giant antennas they've got strung out that are sending waves to the earth. It's beyond sonar that pick all this stuff up. It's insane. And so they knew exactly when it imploded. They knew they were dead. They knew about the wreckage. And the commander said, we reported it. It's not our job to talk to the media. And they decided not to tell you.
Yeah.
And so they just decided to leave it out there as a distraction with all the Hunter Biden stuff coming out, just like they indicted Trump. Jack Smith did the day the last big tranche of Hunter Biden stuff came out. So don't let a good crisis go to waste. Were they in the submarine? They really died. I mean, we get lied to so much. Who knows? Am I going to get sued for 2.75 trillion? I mean, all I know is I'm saying I've been lied to so much. I don't know, but I know this. My phone blew up. My text messages. I've never been asked in a short period of time, so many times since Monday, what do you think really happened with the submarine? And that shows people don't buy it. And almost everybody says, I don't think anybody was on it. Or I think they knew they were already dead. I was hearing this on Monday. And, they're already dead. They know they're dead. They're just going to have this like the boy in the well. And so everybody focuses on it. And I'm like, I don't know. So I didn't comment until Friday because what I've learned is they spin when I just question and war game something and then say, look, he says nobody died. And they'll go to the widow, one of the submarine guys, and go, look, he's up there making money saying nobody died. And then they'll, I mean, literally that's the model. But what's happening is the public doesn't believe any of it. Almost no one I talk to, like no one believes it. So you asked your question is, what's the biggest thing we expose, or how does this mind control work? I think we're coming out of it. We have a discredited corporate media. We have a discredited government that's been hijacked. The public's really, ending their naivete and figuring out they've been lied to and beginning the journey of discovering what's happening. And I think popular podcasts and shows like yours that are really, I think, middle of the road, but are actually just looking at the facts, are going to lead the way out of this, as the new media is now the mainstream media. I mean, your show's bigger than most of the shows on cable. Joe Rogan's show, I think, something like 50 times bigger than a CNN show. 15 times bigger than a Fox show. And but why do we still call it the mainstream media? Why do we still sit? All they are is disruptors that sit there and use psychological warfare to manipulate us. And so it's very healthy that people don't believe anything they're told. That's your right, especially when you've been lied to so much. If I had a neighbor that lied to me once, I'd think they were weird. They lied to me twice, I'm not going to talk to them anymore. Well, these people have been lying to us, caught, and then laugh about it, how funny it is. I mean, take James O'Keefe last year. This is about a year and a half ago. This is a full year before they totally shut it down. Well, we're going to end the whole COVID thing and stop hyping that for now. And we're going to be all global warming and lockdowns and energy shortages and collapsing stuff. And, just the end of civilization, end of the world. And then like a light switch, a few months later, all the media on the same day gets the new script and shift to that. Well, that's the dinosaur media. And the only power they have is getting us to kind of debate what they're saying and doing, when at a certain point you realize it's just all crap. And that's happened. The average CNN show has like 80,000 viewers. The Fox has lost half their viewers, at least. They're down from an average of 2 million viewers to like less than 1 million. They're all committing suicide. You see Anheuser-Busch committing suicide. But then Modelo's smart. We want to celebrate sports heroes and icons and war veterans and families and heritage. And then like, it's not just Hispanics going out and buying the beer, it's the white people. They go, yeah, we want to celebrate heritage too. I mean, we want to crack a beer and think about, our country and our mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and children, how we're good people and how we want to be successful. We want to hear about a boxer or a swimmer or a firefighter that saved kids. We don't want to see some clown hop around in a dress. And we're sick of the demoralization. So their attempt to demoralize us is not demoralizing us now. It's causing the Great Awakening.
So when you're saying that, here's how I process it. So take somebody that's watching this and saying, I cannot believe these guys are hosting Alex Jones. This guy is the platform from everywhere, Twitter, even Elon Musk doesn't have Alex Jones, which I want to ask you about that as well on Why in a Minute. But so there are the people that 100% agree with.
Listen, I can honestly say that this man before, and I hope somewhere I was going to watch the whole thing, but I didn't. I should have, so I can skip around. But when a person is on point about a situation or a subject that's well established, well usable, it's a beautiful thing. It's weird, what I'm saying, to be an outcast. And now that we are, like you said, waking up and understanding that this fight that we fight is our fight because we are asking questions. Yeah, I ask the questions. Yo, why is this is like this? Why is that like that? We got to be able to understand and see and be diverse, but not be shut-eyed of letting the government run over us, okay? That's one thing that we do not want. I want to see something. I do want to come back to this story, y'all. Give me a second. We will come back to this story. But I just know for a fact that there's another story real quick I want to discuss with you real quick. See if it pops up. Yes, sir. I just want to switch the tone so we can talk about multiple things.
We found Sprizzy through a Google search, pretty much. I was looking for a way to market our YouTube videos in
A routine walk turned into a nightmare for a Southern California man. 39-year-old Scott Rowan went to a restaurant in his San Diego neighborhood to inquire about a job. He says he heard two people yelling homophobic slurs at him, so he yelled back. Rowan, who is gay, says the next thing he knew, he was being doused with some sort of liquid and then set on fire.
Immediately after that, I went up kind of like coals on a barbecue. Instantly just went into flames. They were obviously out targeting LGBT community.
Rowan suffered second-degree burns, mostly along his side and back. Not clear if he'll need surgery. He says this is definitely a hate crime, and he filed a police report.
He made it all up. This video is brought to you by Sounds of Freedom. Ladies from Israel, right off the Sea of Galilee. Let's talk about this nut job that literally made news around the world for a alleged hate crime that didn't happen. Matter of fact, not only was it worse than Jussie Smollett, because not only did the hate crime not happen, he actually was in the middle of victimizing a pregnant woman, beating her, bludgeoning her, sending her to the hospital before she set him on fire. Now, let me just give you the backstory. I know you guys saw the news clip at the very beginning of this video, but the quick backstory is that he claimed he got video, pictures, and everything of him getting brutally beaten, claiming that it was some homophobic slurs that were yelled at him, and he got beaten and set on fire for no reason. He said he got set on fire. Listen to me clearly. He got set on fire for no reason in an alleged hate crime against the LGBTQ. This is what this man said. Let it get all in the news, and then CCTV exclusive video. The police had the video evidence of him bludgeoning, beating a pregnant woman to the point she was sent to the hospital. And then, I can't play all the stuff because, they'll ban your boy and they'll put you on age restriction. Put her in the hospital, and in her ditch effort to survive, she set him on fire, which is incredibly impressive in my opinion. But she set the dude on fire. Now the world isn't going to come out and blast this man. He should go to prison for like at least 50 years. He should go to prison for the time that a person would get if they actually perpetuated the hate crime. So he should go to prison, but the world is not going to come out and say, we have a problem with people faking hate crimes. I honestly believe that racism is so dead in America that they got to make it up. They got to create fake scenarios in order to make up this concept of racism. Remember Sandman? The young kid that supposedly grimaced at this Native American guy. When that guy was the problem, they ended up paying him millions of dollars. Homophobia is so bad, they got to make up fake hate crimes. Trump supporters are so bad, Jussie Smollett had to make up a lie, him getting beat up in the middle of Chicago in the middle of the night and freezing temperature, pouring, what did he say? He poured bleach on him with a noose on his neck. This ain't the only time, bro. This ain't the only time. I know some of y'all know, if you follow me, this ain't the only time they make up stuff like this. I remember the dude making up that I think his bar got vandalized or whatever. They found the damaged TVs in his van, spray paint the N-word everywhere. They found the spray paint cans in his van. This fool had the evidence of faking a hate crime in his own vehicle that they end up catching at the scene. So when you look at all of this stuff, you say, if it was so bad, y'all wouldn't have to fake hate crimes. And there's other videos and stories that I'm going to talk about either over the weekend of actual violent crimes perpetuated by black men against Asians, against white people, and there's no coverage. There's no care and concern. You look at statistical data, black people kill white people at twice the number as white people kill black people. It's twice the number. It's double. And the population of black people is significantly lower than the population of white people. If you ask me, if there's an epidemic in violence, there's epidemic in violence in the black community and black perpetuated violence against white people. But we can't talk about that because it doesn't meet the narrative. We're not interested in media today with truth. We're interested in coddling feelings and pushing an agenda. If we would actually tell the truth, we would understand that there's really no homophobia. And the homophobia that exists, I mean, when I say it's no pervasive homophobia, the homophobia that exists is because people are forcing it in the faces of people when most people couldn't care less. Or the racism less because people are thrusting themselves in positions of division that causes people to have conflict that we would not necessarily have conflict in. You know, and I could go on for 25.
I just wanted to share that out real quick, y'all, because that was important. I see that article. I was like, hate crime, and he faked it. I thought he had a video, or there was more articles out, but there's not, because y'all know he faked it. So let's get back into this commercial.
You want to hang out all day and do whatever you want? Well, I'll let you do whatever you want for 23 hours a day. If you just put in the first.
That 100% agree with you. They're loving what you're saying. Like, oh, this is awesome, great, keep going it. And then there's the people in the middle like, yeah, kind of makes sense. And then people on the one side that you're not going to win anyways. I just want to talk to the people in the middle. Forget about either side. I want to talk to the people in the middle. So if you're like me, as a Middle Eastern, Alex, I'm naturally super skeptical. I'm a paranoid guy. I don't trust a lot of people. Okay. I'm kind of like, well, what's the guy's motive, et cetera, et cetera. But here's the part, Rob, we've shown this before. Here's public's trust in the U.S. government from 58 to today. It's the lowest it's been. Look at the numbers right there. I mean, I think the lowest it hit was under Obama, if you look at it there. And then now from there, kept going. It hasn't increased. Now go to the public trust in mainstream media, which is even worse. We were all the way up at 75% in 1976, give or take, and it has gradually declined all the way down to 34%. So it's not.
And by the way, I've looked at these big national polls. They're still sampling more mainline people. So from the numbers I've seen and what they internally have, they can do with these algorithms, it's way worse. Congress is more like 5%, and the media
trust in Congress.
Yes,
can you pull that up, Rob?
And the media is 9%.
And by the way, these numbers are from Gallup. It's not exactly some random website.
What I'm saying is Gallup though is from what we've seen is it's worse than what they're saying.
But here's the part though. Even with Gallup, for Gallup to show
See what I
34,
said? 7%
of Americans have confidence or institutions failing us. Okay, so what's
That's
the key word that
crazy.
we're not trusting? Institutions, establishment. Okay, like people are wondering, and nowadays even college education, is it even worth for me to go to college? What am I going to go to college for?
And that's why they want to watch a new show, check what it's saying, and then they basically knight that as the new show, like yours or Joe Rogan, because they trust you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they've committed suicide, and they think destroying us will make them be risen from the dead. They could take us all out. New people will pop right back up.
I think what people want is to listen to other skeptical people. I think Joe's skeptical. I don't look at Joe and I'm like, Joe is a guy that's fully trying to push an agenda. I think Joe's sitting there saying, guys, I don't know what's going on here. I'm going through the problem. Like the way he opened up.
He's skeptical and he is curious.
I love the way he's very curious. I love the way he opened up the RFK interview where he said, I'm not going to lie to you, for the last 5 years, when I would watch sometimes, this guy's a kook, this guy's this. I'm like, oh, okay, probably not. And then all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, some of the stuff he's saying is true. And then I read the book and I'm like, holy shit. And then we ran into each other at it's funny, the same restaurant we were at. It was myself, him, and RFK, Casa D'Angelo, and we have to give a shout out to Casa D'Angelo, Aspen. We were just a day apart. We were all.
You ran into Joe Rogan, all those guys at the same time.
Yeah. So that's how they connected. Like, hey, I want to get you on the podcast, and then obviously when he did the podcast, he pissed off everybody, Dr. Hortez, all these things. Anyways, what I do want to do is this before we go into the next one. Rob, can you pull up the next thing here with the Tucker Carlson video he had? I want to say it's in March or something like that when he said this. Again, this was a couple months before it happened. Rob, you had it just a minute ago. You had it. So,
and it's like how Hotez won't debate. Look at Kirby and all of them running off the stage. They're running. They're running. That's when you're fleeing. That's when you've been routed in a war.
Yeah, but folks like Mehdi Hassan are saying he shouldn't debate. Time Magazine, he shouldn't debate.
They said he said in science we don't debate.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like saying in boxing we don't fight.
Yeah. So play this clip. This is when, Rob, can you first show the date? This is March of this year, right? We're talking March of this year, March 8th of this year. This is you. Okay, if you can play this.
He gets what's going on. He's not going back. He
Tucker.
Believes in the people. And so I predict he won't be at Fox News in the near future if he's unable to put this out. I'm going to leave it at that. But that's speaking from my perspective. I'm not speaking for Tucker. Now, Cheryl Atkinson.
What was your reasoning for saying that? Why'd you say Tucker's not going to be at Fox long? Obviously, 2 months later, he's not. And there's a feud there. But Why did you say that?
Well, because they'll attribute things to Tucker because they know we talk some and hang out some. He's on the other side of Florida over in
Naples.
He's in
Sarasota?
Boca Grande or whatever. And so we hung out on Thanksgiving last year. But he used to think I was full of it. And then he kind of woke up with a lot of stuff. Came in to visit me like 10, 11, 12 years ago. We became friends, hung out. And then he still thought I was kind of crazy. And then he learned more and more as it went along. And so I had called him. I think we talked like the day before that or something. I don't remember exactly. And I'd said, listen, all the things you're doing they're going to let you go. I said, there's no way that, and we had a private conversation about that. And he didn't see it coming. And I said, well, I just really think you should do your own thing when this goes down. And I said, because we'd already talked about this some at Thanksgiving and infrastructure, independent things, the future. And he's kind of sticking his toe in that. And then I said, okay, well, I predict you're going to be gone within a month. I said, I smell it. And I just, it's not even like being psychic. I get all this data and all I do is immerse myself. You call it the Holy Spirit, whatever you want, but it's like, boom. Then I see something. Like I saw the World Trade Center towers on fire. I saw all the troops in the streets, and I could just see all the programming because you can just see how they're getting you ready for it. And like you said, when you're in the military, they start telling you, hey, terrorism's about to happen. Get ready, boys.
Yeah.
Get ready, boys. Well, they were doing that. I mean, like, get ready. The terrorists are about to hit us, and your life's going to change. I mean, it's not that hard. And you go, okay, what are they going to hit? What are they programming? And then they just had a lone gunman show where they flew a jump.
I know I'm supposed to be talking, but they're so deep. This is deep. This show right here and today, y'all not gonna understand. That's why I put the title, Can We Stand Up for What We Believe in? Me being a conservative, understanding that I want less government in my life and more freedom to do what I want. These are things I want. I want the American dollar conserved. I want national old things that brought us to here conserved. Things that are going on right now and taking place. I just seen a picture on Facebook. I had to shake my head to. Y'all see me do it live, but y'all don't know what I was shaking my head to, but I had to shake my head because it has really truly come down to the point to where $20 years ago, this would have never happened. No way. And now it's happening. It's like nobody can do anything about nothing. That's crazy.
Jumbo jet hijacked into the World Trade Center to blame a Middle Eastern terrorist to invade Afghanistan. Now, I said at the time, see, they're going to attack the World Trade Center. That's another reason. Later, Chris Carter contacts me and says, yes, that's true. The CIA contacted me. They did this routinely, and they basically wrote that script 9 months before 9/11, and then he produces it either 6 months before. It was the Lone Gunman spinoff. And then he based the 2016 series on me. That's interview. He said that. I'm not trying to brag. It's just crazy. The whole talk show host ends up being right at the end. And that's another reason they came after me, because they're like, this guy's getting too popular, even with the thinker people they don't control. So the CIA came to Carter and said, we want you to put this out. And then you notice his 2016 show is all about a vaccine that has a system in it that basically destroys your immune system. And so they have some reason wanting to pre-program us. And I don't think Carter's with them. I think he figured out, he thought he was just helping. He realizes now he was like programming the subconscious for something. This is very sophisticated. You have your conscious, you have your unconscious, and you have your subconscious. Or you have your conscience, and you have your subconscious, and you have the unconscious. And so they're directly trying to talk to the unconscious. And that's thousands of times more powerful, they believe, than the conscious, and hundreds of times more than the unconscious.
Why do you think they let Tucker go? Why do you think specifically on the Fox side?
Well, I actually know why.
Okay.
I mean, I know well, they were already planning to do it. And then let's just say this. The Vanity Fair article, or was it the Hollywood Reporter? I forget which one was the one that Rupert Murdoch was upset by his fiance being Christian.
Oh yeah, I remember reading that where Tucker was talking about God a lot in that speech, and that it pissed him off because Rupert Murdoch is an atheist.
Well, and
he got really pissed off.
Vanity Fair.
Vanity Fair. And so the night they pulled the trigger was when he gave that Heritage Foundation speech. He said, look, God's real. You need to pray to God at least 5 to 10 minutes a day. Evil's real. And you need to get God. You need to get God right now.
Tucker said that.
Tucker did that
in
yeah,
a
it's on-
speech.
Yeah.
At the Heritage Foundation.
And then Murdoch called the head of Fox and said, I want him fired, and I want him fired Monday morning. Don't tell him until we put the press release out simultaneously. So they call him, get him on the phone, say you're fired, and then put the press release out and hang up on him.
Alex, how do you know this?
And then they won't tell him.
How do you know this? Is it because people from?
I can't give sources.
No, I'm not giving. No, I'm not giving names. I'm not giving names. All
I mean,
I'm
my
saying-
sources are so good that I even had Tucker's guys like, come on, Alex, don't tell everybody everything. And I didn't even get it from Tucker. I got some of it. The point is, I know everything.
Okay, somebody.
It's like I got stuff so incredible it'll blow you away, but I can't tell you. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
This is all from my perspective. This is what I hear. What I'm getting is I have a different source. My source is the amount of people that have reached out that want to come join our organization. And we're not even a big media company. We're barely getting started. We're a small little media company here in South Florida. And but the amount of people that are saying, hey, are you looking for talent? We heard you're looking for talent. We don't want to be here long term. Some of the stuff that's going on the inside at Fox is not something.
So Fox is falling apart. I mean, Tucker, obviously his former lead producer that put up the thing that Biden's an aspiring dictator, that was his last hurrah, knowing they'd fire him. They're all going to join Tucker. He's built it. I interrupted. Sorry. Tell me what's going on.
No, that's all I'm saying is we get to call on people. So you're saying Tucker's planning on building a media company?
Or on Twitter.
I think that's obvious.
Okay.
I mean, yes. But here's the thing. I don't want to give anything out of confidence. And so I've learned, I have Fox sources, I have other sources. I've talked to people. And I mean,
you better get y'all Twitter accounts. You better get y'all Twitter accounts, bro. As you hear, man, when you get sources, man, and I've been around a lot of people, dog, and people tell me things, and it's how you present your sources and stuff like that. You ain't always got to give up who you say. Man, we all go through something and hear information. And since we hear the information, you like, hey, man, such told me, like, come on, man. You can't always give up your sources. There are people out here that are looking for reasonings to destroy. It's sad to say that, but it is true. They are looking for reasons to destroy. So let's not give them reasons to destroy, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? Let's fight a good fight.
that's obvious. That's what he's going to do. I mean, his first new show that got like 100 and whatever million views, he said, I plan to do monologues and then more things after that. So yes, what you saw with his Fox Nation thing, but done right, is what he's planning. That's all. The thing is, people say things are classified or they're secret. Real intelligence is what's right in front of you. So Tucker has said he's going to do all this. And so then I do know some of the things he's planning, but I'm not going to repeat that. I can just tell you what I can, with human intelligence, see is going on. But yes, Fox has actually lost 50+% of its main viewers. It's like 65% of their key demo. Basically, they committed suicide, again, just like all these other leftist companies, because they're planning something big, and I don't think they care. And the central banks with the ESGs can give them unlimited money to prop them up later. That's why these companies fall over themselves to lose $24 billion at Target or $15 billion in Anheuser-Busch. Fall over themselves to do this is because they're planning something so big, and things are going to be shook up so bad that none of this is going to be here anymore. And then that leads us to the Russia situation.
Who are some of the guys you're seeing right now that are either in the process of being the next Tuckers or are in the camp of Tucker, that they're pushing the envelope, they're challenging the establishment? Who else would you put? Obviously not at Tucker's level. Tucker's the guy that's the MJ, the industry today. Who else you see is coming up? Whatever different places they are there any other names that you're seeing that's going under the direction that Tucker's going? Like, for example, when we used to watch Tucker back in the days with Crossfire, and he's doing what he's doing with Jon Stewart, and Jon Stewart's trying to punk him, and you see how Tucker stood up to him, and challenge him, and then look, he went from being who he was back then and the bow tie to not being the Tucker of nobody's getting the kind of eyeballs he's getting. So who won at the end of the day? Tucker won from going, John.
Well, that's the thing. Tucker is a genuinely nice guy, but he's also a big guy and really smart, and he has a temper. So the point is that them messing with him and stuff made him go from being a Mr. Nice Guy to no more Mr. Nice Guy. And now he's really no more Mr. Nice Guy. Yeah, I don't think anybody's in his class for being able to do interviews or think on his feet or do a great monologue, because he writes all that himself. He's a great writer, great researcher. And then I think Joe Rogan, just because of his curiosity and because of his, being skeptical, obviously he's just going to continue to get bigger. I think, people like yourself. I've seen your show exponentially grow. It's always been popular, but I see it everywhere now. It's just obviously exploding.
What do you think about? I guess the question I was more asking is guys from mainstream media, not the podcast guys. Like, who at Fox do you see? Do you like what Brett does? Do you like what some of the guys at Megyn Kelly's doing? Obviously, Megyn Kelly's at a different place. Who are some of the names that you're saying? And Megan's already she's one of the best. I'm talking about some of the people at Fox that you're saying that guy maybe won't be at Fox too long himself. Is there anyone at Fox that you're thinking?
I get your question. No, I don't think anybody's in Tucker's league. I don't think any of those people all just have producers. They try to break stories. They try to chase stories. And Fox is basically a sinking ship. And so I do think a lot of them are going to leave and be successful in whatever type of programs they do. But at the same time, look, everything is going to be either you're a populist, anti-New World Order, or you're a globalist suck-up. And so that's it. Everything's going to go towards, are you going to sit there and buy the BS of Neil deGrasse Tyson when he just tells you stuff that's completely untrue? And he just says, science, 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 science. You're like, well, show me science. So he's like, I have a pink Lamborghini outside. Well, show me. No science. You don't question that. I say it's going to be 400 degrees outside tomorrow. Well, show me the facts. No science. Well, it was all tested. These drugs were all approved. No, they weren't. They were brought on market and then approved. An emergency deal. That's totally separate. Never before done. He's just, no, it was all approved. Massive testing. We've never done more studying in our entire universe.
Guys, give me a second. I'm going to go to this quick little commercial thing. Be right back.
As we've done on these shots. These are safe, effective, pure, clean, wonderful. And not one word of that's true. Remember the first year, it was an open piece of paper when you opened up the vaccine ampule by law. That's in there. And it just said the name of the company. Not one thing that was in it because none of it was approved. Emergency authorization. And then they did, quote, studies and suppress those studies. And that's all a fact. And they don't want you to even be able to say that. Anybody can look at what I just said. So it's going to be, are you going to sit there and take the establishment's money and tell people that there's, that there's ice water in hell, or are you going to try to figure out what's going on? So everything is going to be the quest for legitimacy, the quest for curiosity, and the quest of skepticism. And if you're not skeptical in this environment, you're an idiot. We have gotten in this situation because we've not been skeptical. And if you go to places like Russia or the Middle East or places that have had turmoil more recently, people are skeptical or they're dead. And so you either get skeptical and get your head in the game and learn how stuff works, or you're dead. We've had it so good in this country. We're the best house in a bad neighborhood. We've had it so good in this country for at least 150 years, okay? And this place has been a wonderland compared to most other countries. And so people now have grown up off our grandparents and off their grandparents, the average American, and have no idea how good we've had it. And the fact that God is lowering the defense shield now because we have stopped being good moral people. And now tyranny's flooding in, and we better find God and find skepticism and find rugged individualism and find the will to stand up and have courage, or we'll lose everything. People always say, oh, you've got courage to fight them. I'm trying to get out of like walls closing in on my family and my country and the world. It's not courage to be trying to get out of this thing. I mean, you take the cheesy Star Wars analogy where they're in the trash compactor, it's going to kill them. Do they have courage trying to get out of there? No, they're fighting for their lives. If somebody tied bowling balls to my legs and threw me in the deep end and I'm fighting, trying to claw my way up out of there, it's not courage. It's the opposite. It's self-preservation. Yes. So people better understand it's not courage. Okay, it's the courage to save yourself, which isn't courage at all, in my view.
So, Alex, it's obviously a pattern when it comes to people that are exposing the truth, the elites and everything. You, Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, Andrew Tate, RFK. People like even me personally. Is there a light at the end of the tunnel? Or like, is there a chance for us to win, or are we fighting a losing battle? Because Alex, they have set up the pieces to this game that we're playing in. Is there a light, like with people like this, that you have this passion? The truth is coming out. But is it all for nothing?
There is a lot of tea in the tunnel. They've gone and dug up those temples of Ramses II 3,000 plus years ago, more than that with Moses. So what you see in the Ten Commandments, I mean, that was real people, real stuff went on. People can question the biblical story if they want, but Moses existed, Ramses II existed, all that went on. You're saying, what's that to do with what I asked? The Israelites had to stop doing what they were told. Everybody's seen that meme that shows like 5 burn matches and then one
Small
match.
one. Yep.
And it says non-compliance or
I
non-conformity, and then all the other matches aren't burned. You can stop the chain reaction. And so finally, after decades or whatever it was of the Jews saying we're done being your slaves, they said, okay, pack your stuff up and go. Okay. And the desert was rough and it was tough and they went through a lot of hell. Then they built their own thing. And so look how you built your own thing. The establishment became corrupt. The mainstream media lied to us. It committed seppuku. It committed suicide. Now we're building a new system. The Amish 400 years ago were
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, squirrels, nuts, butts, guts, and people that do give a fuck. We better wake up. We better understand that this is a dogfight. And we do got a lot of people in our community that don't care, who have given up, who has stopped, who don't think that they're worthy enough to do the things that it takes to win in a fight. I have always been a part of trying to do the right thing and show other people that, hey, these stories that I bring up, it's not just for fun. I don't do this for amusement. I'm not doing this for just trying to get views, because I do understand that things that I talk about, the normal average Joe people don't want to talk about. There are stories I guarantee that I can go out here and look up and bring to the people's attention, and then when people see it, it's going to catch their eye. Like, we all know that. You know what I'm saying? If I was up here talking about the submarine people and making all the jokes about how and why they shouldn't go down there and stuff like that, we know I will be getting the views. We all know that. We all know that. But I don't. I talk about things that I feel are concerning, things that are going to affect us rapidly, soon, quick, fast, and hurry, right in our faces. That is what I try to bring to us. I really do. Maybe I don't do a good job. Maybe I don't. But these are the stories. These are the things. These are the views. These are the topics that I try to bring to you guys that I want us to see. Everything's so messed up. Look at this. Like everything that I bring to you is just is weird, messed up, and hard to soak in. It's hard to take in. It's hard to digest. As y'all say, I'm a big comic book nerd. Y'all like, bro, they like comic book stuff. Let's go on over here to the Martin and see what he's talking about.
Oh, the first day that we signed up for Monday.com, our department was already able to connect our processes.
There's this, if you want to understand, and I've said this 1,000 times, and I will say it 1,000 more times, how elections have consequences. Today in Florida, the state Supreme Court moved forward in saying that Crossley Green, a black man who was sent back to prison after his murder conviction was overturned, can't get out. That's right. First of all, the Florida Commission on Offender Review denied his parole. Now, this means that he is not going to be paroled until 2054, when he will be 97 years old. Who appoints this board? The governor. Who's the governor? Republican Ron DeSantis. Folks, elections. Why can't the Florida Supreme Court intervene? Guess what happened? A couple of years ago, 3 liberal justices all retired around the same time. DeSantis filled those positions. Now there is a hardcore block of conservatives on the state Supreme Court who will do what DeSantis wants to do. Joining us right now, folks, is Keith Harrison. He is one of the attorneys for Crossley Green. He joins us here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. So, Keith, what can happen now? The federal court said he got to go back. They can't do anything. What now?
Well, thank you, Roland, for covering this important case. And, you know, this is a case where you have an innocent black man who spent 19 years on Florida's death row, total of 32 years in prison for a crime he did not commit. And there's a lot of evidence. And in fact, the federal court ruled in 2021 that he was wrongfully convicted. But that ruling was overturned by the 11th Circuit, and he was released pending that appeal. He was out for 2 years, was a model citizen, fully employed, went to church every Sunday. And, you know, during the 2 years he was released, certainly he should have been a perfect candidate for parole. But the Parole Commission in Florida, we had a hearing yesterday. We argued his case, but we were unsuccessful. And, you know, what is next? We are going to continue to fight for his freedom. We're going to continue to fight for justice on behalf of Crossley Green. We are going to continue to try to take our case back to the Parole Commission. We're also looking at other judicial remedies. And there is also clemency as an option. That would have to be approved by the governor. And so, you know, we are going to pursue every possible avenue to try to get this innocent man freed.
Now, let's go back. A federal judge ruled that he was innocent. So first of all, what did the federal judge actually say?
So Judge Dalton, federal court judge in Florida, ruled that crucial evidence pointing to Crossley Green's innocence had been withheld by the prosecutor, not turned over to the defense. And one of the bedrock rules of our criminal justice system is if there's evidence of innocence, it has to be turned over to the defense. The federal court ruled that he could not conceive of evidence that was more exculpatory, more crucial than the evidence that was withheld in this case. And the evidence that was withheld were the prosecutor's notes that the first two responding police officers that got to the scene surveyed all the evidence, and they concluded, because of what they saw and what they observed, that there was no black guy as the surviving witness said, and that essentially Crosby Green was innocent. This was withheld from the defense, even though one of these officers testified. I mean, imagine what powerful cross-examination evidence that would have been. That would have transformed two white police officers from witnesses for the prosecution into witnesses for the defense. But it wasn't turned over. Federal court said that's unconstitutional. I can't imagine anything that would have been more material to the defense in this case. The 11th Circuit, 2 years later, really over 2 years later, ruled that, yes, this evidence had been withheld, but it would not have mattered ultimately to the case. They ruled that it was immaterial. They reinstated his conviction. Yes, believe it. I mean, it was hard to believe. And then we appealed to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court did not hear the case, even though we had over 100 law professors from across the country file briefs supporting our case. We had over 20 former state and federal prosecutors supporting our case. We had 5 former state Supreme Court judges from states like Texas and Missouri supporting our case, but the Supreme Court did not take the case. So that is why Crosby Green had to go back to prison after having his conviction overturned and leading a productive model, a productive life as a model citizen for 2 years. He had to go back to prison. And then yesterday, despite an unblemished record for 34 years, both in prison and out of prison, the Florida Commission denied his parole.
That's why I'm not going to Florida. That's why I always have said, always have told myself, I'm not moving to Florida. I promise you. I ain't got time. No BS, y'all. I ain't got time to deal with it.
Artificial intelligence can start a business for you and make you money. With 0 clients, 0 phone calls, and 0 experience required. That's how I made $70,000.
Years ago were Protestants. They were being persecuted in Switzerland and Germany. So they packed up, sold everything, and moved here. And still today, they don't have autism. They don't have any of this stuff. They don't have suicide rates. They're living the dream because they don't hang out with Big Pharma. And so we don't have to do what the Amish have done, but we have to be in the world, but not of the world, to use the Christian allegory. Got it. And we have to build our own systems, build our own companies. Instead of a boycott, which is great against Anheuser-Busch or Target, we need a boycott. And when we start, and that's what ESGs are, is they've analyzed all this. They know the boycott by populists, by Christians, by conservatives, by people that just want to be capitalist and live normal and be able to defend ourselves and create wealth. We can do anything we want. Humans are incredible. Instead of being ruled by these globalists that want us poor so they can dictate the terms of our surrender, we have to build the new Renaissance. We have to build the Great Awakening. And it has to be a spiritual awakening in God, in Christ. And we have to call on God because they've got their God. Notice Target literally put out shirts with an artist that says
believing in the devil. Yeah,
we are Satanists and we are going to recruit your kids and an adult
shirt with that.
A shirt. The designer, it was all devil worship, Satan. Satan loves trans. Satan loves trans.
S for Satan.
Mm-hmm.
Now they threw an S in there.
Look, Pat, see that? Robert, it says Target right there. Go right there. Top left. Target. And that was the pin that they were selling. Target respects, Satan respects pronouns. They were
There's
selling
no
that.
way they were selling.
I
Yes, they were.
100% they were
click on
selling.
We sent crew in and got video of it.
Pat, they were selling.
They were
it.
selling this in Austin.
Target ignites firestorm with launch of new clothing line designed by Satanists.
100%.
Target just missed a bullseye by a mile and then some. Can you zoom in a little bit? The retail giant has been selected by a few brands in the United Kingdom that promote Satan. You read it right. Target's partner is Ab Pralin. It has produced a prayer collection for Target's celebration of LGBT Pride Month and promotes satanic images, themes.
This is as outrageous.
Listen.
as it gets.
Listen. Go to Twitter, and the woman has an account. These are shirts, not just art.
Trans witches for what they are. They also offer clothing and accessories that includes catchphrases like trans witches for abortion. Okay, click on that and let's try to buy it. Go to trans witches for abortion.
Well, here's the good news. They pulled it after a week.
Okay.
Yeah, but
and then they got all these bomb threats from the LGBT pieces.
Yeah, leave it in there. The
Rainbow Mafia is real.
The Rainbow Mafia was like, yo, we're gonna bomb Target if you try to mess with it.
Go on that Etsy page. Yeah, that one right there.
Because that guy's name Abralin, whatever his name is.
Witches for abortion.
Listen, they actually sold the shirts that had a guillotine and said we're going to kill homophobes.
Yeah.
And then it shows an adult skeleton giving a baby skeleton the trans fire, and it says, "We will recruit your children. They will be trans."
What was the thing that we're preaching the other day?
Oh, yeah,
We're here,
I don't-
we're queer,
I don't know
we're
if you-
coming for your
I don't know if you-
children.
Share the story of what happened there.
So-
Rob, if you want to pull up the story.
So and Alex, I'll give a couple examples before we
Talk
get
about
to that.
Boston.
I'm talking about and Alex. We've talked about this yesterday. So when people like you, when people like me talk about this attack on children, this satanic going after children and the trans movement, just a couple of quick stories that happened this week in Boston. 4 kids were found in a drag party with one dead trans guy on the floor, and the kids were in the back. There were sex toys scattered throughout the house, and a hoarder home. Doesn't make headline news, but the
firefighters said they were hiding the kids in the back bedroom.
They were hiding.
The Daily Mail right here put it out there.
Yeah,
So this
okay.
is not this is not a right wing source.
Yeah.
Daily Mail.
Listen, keep the stories going. The first trans state representative, Stacey Lawton, aka Barry Lawton, from New Hampshire, was just arrested for distributing child porn. Okay, it just happened. And mind you, they couldn't find him because he transitioned and changed his name. How about this
And
one?
by the way, they're trying to pass laws in California and other states where once you change your name, if you're trans, it expunges your criminal record.
Police record.
Really?
Oh yeah. So
Just change your name, Alex.
Yeah. So yeah.
Now you're Alexandra Jones, exonerated.
Yeah,
You're
there
good.
goes
You
the
know,
money.
you owe no money.
And one more. So 3 days ago, the ex-CNN producer John Griffin was sentenced 19 years for sexually assaulting a 9-year-old. Okay. And then this was the other day. This is in New York City, a drag march where the marchers are chanting, "We're here, we're queer, we're here for your children." Tell me this isn't disgusting. Listen. Like they're not here. Now listen, this is out. We're
How
here.
do you want to bet those are public school teachers?
100%. Yeah, and
We're
here's the thing.
coming for your
That's worse. Did you
children.
see the San Francisco city-funded gay choir where they go, "We're coming for your children. We'll take them. You'll love it. And then we'll get you too. We're going to get your children." And then they go to the city councils all over, even in conservative areas, and go, "We are going to recruit your children and have sex with them."
Oh my
This is
God.
Rob, can you pull that up?
And Alex, how is that not the headline story? But the Titanic sinking ship with 5 people is the #1 story.
Oh, yeah. And Blue's Clues now on,
Does it say right here?
on mainstream TV has Baphomet and Moloch and the kids being sacrificed.
Oh God.
Yeah, so this is exactly what. But here's what's happening. Let me tell you what I think is happening, and I kind of agree with what you're saying. I think common sense will prevail, and a lot of people are sitting there saying this just doesn't make any sense. You saw the Gallup poll that came back where America is right now with the LGBTQ and where they're standing. How the biggest plus minus was the fact that the American people are no longer as comfortable as they were. It dropped by 7% year over year where we're at. And even the Glendale stuff that's going on with the kids, the parents coming out saying this is too much, you're crossing the line. More and more people are being united on ESG's bad idea. More and more people are being united with you can't be grooming our kids. More and more people are starting to realize this is not just what we're all about. And it's not just the people from the right. It's people from who have historically voted Democrat that are saying, look, man, I don't know what the hell is going on. This isn't what I supported.
It's a lunatic asylum.
Yeah, you're seeing it's going from Democrat versus Republican, where it's going from establishment against anti-establishment. That's the two political parties. We're gradually going away from the Republican and the Democratic Party. We're going to the anti-establishment and the establishment party. Maybe you were saying, yeah, you know what? I don't trust the establishment anymore like I used to. I just don't.
It also goes to ridiculous versus just common sense. Stuff like this.
We're here. We're queer.
We're coming for your children. And how, Patrick, that is, listen to me, that's the devil out in the open. They're not even hiding anymore.
And they say in this, towards the end, they say, we're going to get them. We're going to groom them. They're ours. They're going to love it. And so will you.
This transcends party lines. This is
and it turned out a
beyond
bunch
that.
of them were registered sex offenders with children.
These guys.
Yeah, a bunch of them.
The majority. Look
Wait,
at their faces.
What did they say in this video? What did they say in this video?
I don't know which one.
This is the city-sponsored choir. I mean, it's nauseating. But just,
click on it.
And just so you know, for
go to the
reference,
last third. Go
this
to the last
is
third.
from 2021.
Okay.
We're coming for your children.
Jesus.
Is this a real video or is this?
No, this is their religion.
Fake?
This is not a joke.
That
No, they arrested
San
some of the-
Francisco Gay Men's Chorus sang a song about coming for your children. It was like they spelled the plan out in plain
Right.
sight.
Sometimes, like Alex said, sometimes just look right in front of your
Right in
face.
front of your
What they're
face.
saying, it doesn't need to be conspiratorial.
Yeah.
They're fucking saying
Yeah,
it.
yeah. There's
Can-
no
can we-
hiding.
Can we continue the song? Was that just the point of the song?
Yeah, sing along if you know the words out there.
that
Sing
was the
along.
clip.
12 seconds.
That was it.
Unbelievable.
We're coming for your
For your
children.
children.
That's it.
Hold on. And they're doing it.
It gets worse later. Like, we will groom them and we're going to get you too. You belong to us. Your body is ours.
And,
I remember the left wants to make you take the shots too. It's all about rape.
And
rape.
Alex, you
All about
warned
power.
Alex, you warned about the Epstein Island situation way before he got arrested, way before he committed suicide. What, like, are they just gonna get away with this for?
Well, I mean, here's an example. I got put like 20 years ago in some Hollywood movies. Never even asked to do it. Rick Linklater's a great guy, not part of Hollywood, and he put me in Waking Life with the Scanner Darkly with Keanu Reeves and people. But I also consulted on those, especially on Scanner Darkly. So then this is how I got into Hollywood. Martin Sheen saw one of my anti-war films and said, "I'd like you to fly out to California." So this is like in 2004 or something.
Charlie Sheen's dad.
Yeah. No, so that's how I met Charlie Sheen. So I'm at their house in Malibu.
That'd be a party.
And they're there, and there's like, all of a sudden Anthony Hopkins comes over, and it's like, I'm sitting at their house, and they're watching one of my documentaries, telling me how great I am. So they think I'm a leftist because it's anti-war, which I am anti-war just as a populist, as a conservative, as a person. And then Emilio Estevez comes over, and then all of a sudden Charlie Sheen comes over and he goes, "Hey man, I'll fly out here next time once you blah blah." And back then he was with he was off the drugs, then he was smoking cigarettes. He was with
the dark-haired, the hot girl.
No, it was the girl before that. Who's the one that's in Starship Troopers?
Oh, Denise Richards.
Denise Richards.
That's who he was married to, as kids with.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So I used to go stay at his house. His kids are there.
You're staying with Charlie Sheen?
Oh, yeah.
Buddy, invite me to the party next time, Alex Jones.
Well, no, I've stayed with him when he went downhill.
Definitely invite me to the party.
He used to like, "Hey, my house is always here, man. And listen, you can use all my cars. Here, drive my Porsche. It's like 800 horsepower. First gear goes like 60 miles an hour."
Yeah.
I was like, I've driven stick and good, but I had to like turn it around and bring it back to his house. He's like, "Hey man, I want some Taco Bell. You could take the Porsche and you'll get me some down the hill." And I'm seriously, and I'm like, I had to bring back. "Can I drive another car?" I was like, "I can't drive it."
Go back to what was
like a
happening.
pussy. Yeah.
Go back to what was happening with Charlie Sheen and
show
Martin
the picture,
Sheen
Andres.
and all this.
Look at these guys. But you look like you were in good shape. He looks like he was rough right there.
Tiger blood.
So Alex, you were saying about the Hollywood. You're
Martin
in Hollywood.
Sheen, Hollywood.
You're in Hollywood. You're going to be in the movie.
You were
talking about
going
all these-
somewhere with this, Mr. Jones.
So
Yeah.
And so then I got to know all these other people. Yeah. Those were off-record stuff. But I mean, like he had go to dinner with Buzz Aldrin. And Buzz Aldrin talk about the aliens and the secret bases and the obelisk. And now they're going to find water in 2 years. We're going to let the Indians find it. And 2 years later, I'm in an airport and there's a newspaper saying, and I mean, just the most wacky stuff. So then I start knowing all these other Hollywood people because I was going on TV shows and like some reality shows about conspiracy. Did a whole bunch of them, 5 or 6 of them, probably more than that. And so I was on a lot of TV programs. And I was doing voiceovers, doing real well. And then this is probably like 16 years ago or so. I knew some folks. They go, listen, you think Hollywood's cool? He goes, this wasn't Charlie, some other people. They go, there's like three groups. There's just people that are here that make the money and then you try to live outside the area. And then there's Scientologists. And then there really is like a cult CIA devil worshippers. And I didn't learn this from Martin Sheen or Charlie Sheen, other people. And it was like, yeah, they've got these cults, but they all feed into this larger CIA group and they brand the women on their bellies and all. And that was NXIVM. And then they've got these islands where they get these politicians and scientists and people to compromise them. And it's all run by MI6, CIA, and Mossad. And they fly them out to these islands. And he goes, and they're not just having sex with kids. He goes, they also, that's the entry door. And I learned this from more people and found out from other folks. And then I talked to entertainers and then I talked to well-known musicians and like, that's why a lot of them just leave because this happened to Mark Dice, who's, been friends with forever. He got offered a major show by the largest reality TV show group. And this is like 10 years ago now. And they get him in there at the end of it. And they say, well, here's the last thing. We want you. They're doing a huge show with a huge, with one of the Motley Crue guys. I think it's Nikki Sixx, and the head of the company goes, "But we want you to pledge yourself to Lucifer." And Mark said, "Well, I'm a Christian." They go, "Well, we know you say you are, but let's just get this out of the way." And he says, "Is this a joke?" And they said, "No, I'm deadly serious with you." Now that's just one guy that will go public. I got told that. And I've had a lot of meetings. I've had meetings with Bilderberg Group members. I've had meetings with all these folks, and they're off record meetings, so I never talk about them. But one time, the head of the Kissinger Group, Rothkopf, in front of my producer, said, "We want you to come work for us. We want you to come to New York next week. We're gonna, there's only a few thousand people in the super class. We want you to lead, basically the populist liberty movement. But you'll get a seat at the table, but you'll have to do what we tell you. But you'll get to have some input. You can be on your crusade and fail, or you can join us." So that was offered in front of John Harmon, my producer. I said, "Is this off record?" They said, "No, just join us." But that wasn't Satanism the way they said it there, but it's always the same speech. And so I have repeatedly had people. One time I had this major executive trying to give me a $10 million a year contract and multi book deals every year. And they said, "You just got to come in and do the show, but we'll control what you do." And I'm sitting there and his guy's wife comes in and we're up in this big high rise, corporate office. And this woman's super beautiful. And they go, "I hear you like to have fun. You want to have sex with my wife right now? She thinks you're hot. She wants to have sex. What do I need to do? I need to get on my knees and have you sign this contract." Then another time,
they offer you this deal?
Yeah, absolutely. Another time, they sent this famous CIA guy, same deal. I meet with him, all this stuff. He gets on his knees. So, and that's what these people do because they want that baseball card. They want to own Alex Jones, and they're going to want to own you when you get popular. And they're going to want, and there's super crazy stuff like I'd already heard about this, but I was talking to a very well-known individual, and I can't tell the whole story. But he was being flown by the same guy that was flying the king of a major Middle Eastern country. And I'm not going to say because we don't get the guy in trouble. This is on a big jet, jumbo, large full-body jet, and this is the chief pilot. And he tells this guy that I know doesn't BS. He tells him, "Listen, I've only done this once. Had to sign all these NDAs, all this other stuff. We get on the jumbo jet with the king of this major deal, and there's other jets, a couple jets following it with his family because that's how they do it." And he says, "Go to these coordinates," and he wouldn't even say what ocean, but he goes, "There's nothing there," and he goes, "No, go there." They go there. It's a private island beyond. It's like 7-star, if such a thing existed, and no homeless, nothing but billionaires. But it's just everything. And telling you that's the level of this control. And I guarantee you they've approached Joe Rogan because he hasn't told me, but I could tell in the last year he's gotten the talking to, but he said, "Screw him." I could tell because we hang out and have dinner and talk some. But the point is I can just tell because I know people get these speeches. And
for sure. Is there another Epstein Island?
But well, that's the level of yes, absolutely. When you say an island,
yeah.
I mean, I'm being told by well-known people that, man, hey, you think Hollywood's cool. What are you going to do when you're at a party some night and they bring a 16-year-old girl in there and start having sex with her and just implicate you're in the building?
Wow.
And that's why you need to not go to that party tonight. You need to get out of here. Okay, that's the kind of stuff. Really, prominent people, you're like telling you this place is dangerous and you need to watch out. Because I was getting deep into Hollywood. I mean, I was at parties with the biggest names.
Well, I mean, you just have to think about if Rob, what is this you pulled up here? This NXIVM?
That's the sex cult that Alex was talking about in Los Angeles.
Name of commonly used to describe the personality called imprisoned racketeer and sex offender Keith Raniere. Is also trademark name Defunct Corporation that Raniere founded, which provided seminars and videos in the field of human potential development. The United States seized ownership of the organization, related entities, and personal intellectual property through asset forfeiture, allowing Raniere to keep going there. So what's the last one? Something in your district.
But that's just one feeder group. That's just one feeder group. So they have all these little, kind of like the Hells Angels or the Mongols will have a sub motorcycle gang that's not members but works for them.
Yeah.
And then they'll have guys under them. And so that's how they work. So, but so I was told by a lot of people that this stuff was going on, and that Hollywood was run by basically. I mean, if you've seen that new movie, I forget the name of it. It was pretty powerful. It's actually somewhat historic. It's a composite. Babylon, about Hollywood. The latest movie that just came out.
Was it a movie or documentary?
Sound of Freedom?
No, I think it was called Babylon, Hollywood Babylon.
Try to find that, Rob.
It just came out. I watched it. Like,
What was the
Is it in
premise?
theaters?
It was in theaters. It was a big movie.
What was the premise of the movie?
It was the early days of Hollywood in the 20s and 30s.
Hollywood.
Yeah, I see it right here.
Right there, Hollywood Babylon.
EVE Online on Mac immerses you in a universe with thousands of star systems like
Yeah, Babylon.
2020,
22.
2022.
Yeah, click it.
Epic Weird Black
Margot Robbie.
Brad Pitt.
Margot Robbie.
Anyways, you watch that. That stuff went on.
Go
in
to the
Hollywood.
poster on the right, Rob.
Oh, the poster right there.
Punch in.
Is that it?
Yeah, and so this is based
Brad
on
Pitt, Margot Robbie, Babylon.
this is based on real, like The Patriot with Mel Gibson is a composite of 3 stories, but they're true. And that's the same thing for a lot of these movies. But I read the research on this. This is a composite of real stuff that went on in Hollywood. So this devil worship, cannibalism, eating rats while having sex with hot women, because to them it's not enough to have a hot woman. Now you need to have it.
Brad Pitt is in it. Margot Robbie's on it.
Yeah.
Why would they make a movie trashing their own industry?
I think they think it's cool. And
is it coming from a place of like exposing the truth, or is it coming from a place of this is the level you make it if you become very famous in Hollywood?
They basically say this is Hollywood's tombstone in the movie. And they just say this is who we are, and Hollywood's dead now. So now here's the story of how we began, and that maybe we'll be reborn somewhere else.
It's pretty strange right there, man.
Because we're all in the phase now of even the system has to expose itself now, because this is the season of that. And so, but I'm telling you, watch this movie. This is devil worship in the 20s and 30s.
They call it a black comedy drama. Punch in, Rob.
Epic period black comedy drama. You watched this whole movie?
Yes. But what I saw at Bohemian Grove had major shades of this. And if I can, just because I never do this on big shows, we're struggling to stay on air. We still have a huge audience that tunes in, and our work gets seen everywhere. But it's kind of like I'm in a prison and then I send letters out. If people want to find what we're actually doing and what's going on, band.video, they block sharing that link. So madmaxworld.tv. Obviously, there's the famous Infowars.com. But I'm on the air 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. every day. I have another great talk show host. I'm going to be hosting my show tomorrow night from Tampa at the River Church at revival.com. We're going to simulcast that. Then I'm going to do a meet and greet and ask Alex Jones anything at 7 p.m. at the River Church in Tampa Sunday night. So I guess
is that Pastor Rodney's church?
That's Pastor Rodney.
Shout out to Pastor
Howard Brown out there. So that's going to be going on. And I still have my crew. We're still able to pay the bandwidth bills, the satellite uplinks. We're on a lot of TV stations and cable stations as well. And we're fighting, and the enemy's trying to shut us down. But, you asked, how do I pay the bills? You asked that earlier.
Yes.
We're in a chapter 11, subchapter 5, which is a reorganization. And if the company's viable, even though the other side just wants us silenced, then under federal law it continues. And the judge says we've done a good job. Everything's proven up the way we said it was. It's a viable company. So it looks like that's going to probably go through in the next few months. And then the bankruptcy will go forward and my company won't be shut down. I personally didn't declare bankruptcy until I had the $1.5 billion judgment. That kicked me up into pure chapter 11. So I can't do that. But it's a catch-22 because I don't have a bunch of stuff. And so I'm wearing a $20 t-shirt, but this is how I like to live. And so, plus I don't have a, sharp like you guys look like athletes, but so, the message is they haven't hurt me very bad. They haven't silenced me. In fact, they've made me bigger. And I kind of want to say folk hero-ish now because the system's so demonized. People say this guy's getting massively demonized. He must be good. So it's not that I'm that good. It's that anything that people now see as the establishment hating, they love. And so that's what has happened. And I want my enemies to know you've not silenced me, but I'm not even your enemy. I want you to stop destroying yourselves. You've lost all credit. I'm kind of like the FBI back before they were really corrupt, saying, come out with your hands up and it'll go better for you. The New World Order is failing. Everybody sees who you are. It isn't working anymore. I just want my children to have a future. And I really want to have like an armistice with the globalist and then have an open discussion about the way civilization is going, because we haven't even gotten into Russia. And I'm glad to talk about myself, but folks, this is way more dangerous than the Cuban Missile Crisis. This was guaranteed a globalist coup, counter coup, power struggle in Russia is going on right now. No one knows what the truth is. I can talk about the angles of it. And I'm sure you guys, we talked before we went live, are amazing. But this is, I mean, I am at a gut level instinctively concerned for my family and concerned for us. I mean, I actually feel good being in a 4-foot wall safe facility right now.
Alex, before we get to Russia, because I know we do want to cover that, you said something a second ago that I think would be appropriate to bring up. You said when they tried to silence you, when they tried to cancel you, it actually has a reverse effect. You actually end up getting bigger.
Look at Tucker. He had 5 million viewers a night.
Yeah.
Now his average show 60 million.
And then this is reminiscent of an interview we just did 2 weeks ago with the one and only Andrew Tate, his brother Tristan Tate. I know you've had some relationships with them. He's only getting bigger as they try to silence him and cancel him. You've had some experiences with Tate. You're following that story. What do you think?
Yeah,
about that?
I was one of the first people to interview him in the U.S. Paul Watson was friends with him when he was on Big Brother. They hung out a lot, and they used to go out and double date and stuff because they're both big, tall, handsome guys. And total gentleman to women, totally nice. All of it's pure crap. Half the women that supposedly said this said that they never said that. They wouldn't charge him for a year and a half. It's pure. The fact that he was the most Googled person and everything he did was getting 100 million views, and they're just scared of any man that pops up that threatens their monopoly, because what might stand up against the globalists or take over the planet? Men. And so any man they can't buy, any man they can't intimidate, any man they can't destroy, they come after you with sex. And let me just tell you, I think he did some racy stuff. They did the cam stuff. They made a lot of money. He had former police officers and people running it. That's his right to do it. I think he painted a target on his back, but I don't think he knew how big he was going to get and that would then happen. That said, I'll break some news here. We had, from the other side, trying to shut us down recently. This is even in the Washington Post. The Justice Department trying to indict me, and then even the Justice Department said this guy didn't do anything on January 6th. He tried to stop it. We can't charge an innocent man. That was in the Washington Post. It's crazy enough. They're still got Jack Smith trying to do it, claiming I'm masterminded with Trump. It's just ridiculous. But they've had the CIA, because we know who the people are. They're dumb enough where we can get their license plates and track them. And a bunch of my guys have worked. Working at the CIA is nothing. I mean, that's like the low level, thing on my guy's resume. Everybody's worked for the CIA that works in the military and all that stuff, and the State Department and everything else. And then they have the CIA. They've had British intelligence, and they've had through these cutouts with big international PI, private investigation units, literally combing through and getting Facebook images from like 10 years ago, and where a woman took a picture with me, and they call her up and say, "You had a relationship with Alex Jones. Did he rape you?" Well, the woman's like, I think I saw him once at a movie theater, and I took a picture with him. I've had more than dozens of women call the office and say, "Hey, I only met Alex once at a party, and this group's coming to me." So then they try to go to the security companies and that I've used and try to hire them. This rich person from whatever wants to hire you, and then they get to the interview and it's all about me. And hey, well, and it's like, does he ever rape women? So that's what they're doing to me. Except I'm not doing that. Okay, so I work hard, eat too much, drink too much sometimes, and I go home and throw my 6-year-old around the pool and hang out with my other 3 children that are basically grown, 21, 18, and 15. So to me, especially under this attack, more than ever, it's all about family. That's my refuge. That's what it's all about. And they literally have multinational groups and intelligence agencies scouring, going, we've got to get somebody and look, they'll probably find a woman I don't even know, like with this Trump lady. He was found guilty by a jury, not of raping a woman. They said, no, we didn't find he raped her, but he defamed her by saying he's innocent. Think about that. Trump said he was innocent, $5 million. And I'm sure after a certain point, it's like an escape from New York.
Yeah, have you seen a clip with her and Anderson Cooper?
Yeah, where she says women really love getting raped.
No, she said he never even
She
physically
says,
touched me. It was an emotional rape.
Oh yeah.
You should. You
seen this clip?
I have. Well, play it again.
Yeah, this clip never gets old when she says, I really like you, Anderson, and he gets uncomfortable.
He looks like he wants to stop
Well, he's not attracted.
Yeah.
Plus, she's not even a woman, but he's attracted to men.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think she fully understood that he's gay.
Yeah, exactly.
He's trying to come on to a gated.
She's like, listen, lady who looks like the chick from 40-Year-Old
her.
Virgin. If I'm gonna make the switch, it ain't gonna be for you.
Well, she also looks like the monster from Before It Turns into Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Oh my God. Oh, that's hilarious.
She goes,
That's
"Are you a god?"
Yeah.
No. Then die. Don't you love how Congressman Gozer has the same name as the demon god?
Gozer. That's
Gozer the Eliminator. Gozer the Traveler. Gozer the Destroyer. Look, Gozer's on CNN.
Play the clip. Play the clip.
I feel like a victim.
I was not thrown on the ground and ravished, which the word rape carries so many sexual connotations. This was not sexual. It hurt.
But I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
What?
Let's take a
Think
short
of the fantasies.
Look.
We're just going to take a quick break. We'll talk more on the other side.
This.
You're fascinating to talk to.
I don't know if I've seen many clips on
look,
over and over again than this.
And he's revolted. He literally goes like, "Ooh."
Oh,
you're fascinating.
You're not his type, honey. But listen, I found tapes of this lady. I mean, one night I literally spent like 3 hours finding clips, and I didn't send them to the crew, but I never played them on air. She literally hopping around in the woods. Like, I mean, she is a fruit ball, man. I mean, in the encyclopedia, it should say, fruitcake, wingbat, and it's a picture of her.
In fact, guys, before we go to the Roger thing, so Alex Jones, so let's say you have a crystal ball, Alex, before you started this crusade and who you are right now to this day, and you could see everything that they've done and where you're at right now. Do you change anything? Do you do anything different not to get to, because you saw what they're doing to you?
Hindsight's 2020, and I see how God works, how the universe works, the Lord works in mysterious ways. Yeah, I would have done a lot of things different. I didn't realize how influential I was even 15 years ago. And I would just be doing 5-6 hours a day some days and just having fun. Sometimes I do nighttime shows, have a few martinis, and say stuff tongue in cheek, and then that let them spin it and do things and then take it out of context. But that probably added to the success at the end of the day. So it's all in God's hands. I've never tried to lie. I've never tried to hurt innocent people, but I have had a big footprint and I have stepped on people, and I'm sorry for that. But the past is the past, and I don't even really look back at the past. I study the past to understand the future, but I'm just trying to improve myself now and just trying to get as humble as possible, and just really praying that we don't have a nuclear war and that we can just have a future. Used to, I wanted to be number one, and I would get a little jealous of other people that were really successful. But the best thing in my life has been really realizing it's the human continuum, and that we're all basically on the same journey together, and other people's success against tyranny is my success. So I'm the happiest I've ever been. And I just, all the persecution has been wonderful. It's really taught me a lot, and it's helped me be a better person. So I want to thank my enemies for everything they've done to me. And I want to encourage them not to be destroyed by their master that will destroy them. And I want to have a future with them on a planet we can all live on. And so I want to tell my enemies, I love you and I care about you, and Jesus loves you. And you just need to ask Jesus to come into your heart, and God will set you on the right path and forgive you. And that's really the answer. And I would just really encourage them to find God. Amen. Because let me tell you, God and the devil are real. You better get that straight.
Yep.
Where did this come from? How long did it take this epiphany phase? Because this is like what you're basically saying is like you've been humbled, right? You were at the top of the podium, and then boom, you've been brought down. Everything that's happened to you. Is it Pastor Rodney? Is it you're reading the Bible? You're praying for your enemies.
I've always been a Christian, but then I kind of slip out of gear and turn into the Tasmanian devil. Literally it's the angel and the devil. Like sometimes before I know it, I'm like, okay, I'm with the devil. Oh, wait. But I'm faithful to God. I want to be here, but I can jump over to the devil really easy. And so I've always been forgiven, and I've always loved other people's success. One of the best things, I've always been grateful, and I've never, it's just that I catch myself saying, well, I like that person, but still, they really do a great job. And it's like, but that's all of our wealth together. And so really enjoying the wealth of other people's success is all our human success. Communists and socialists and authoritarians, totalitarians, they, in that movie, the book Oil that was made in the movie, There Will Be Blood, it's such a powerful scene. Maybe you can pull it up. It's only like 30 seconds long, where he says, Daniel Day-Lewis, probably one of the best actors ever. He says, I have a competition in me. I don't like to see other people do well. And I don't like other people. And he's like saying, I want to like you because you're my cousin. And later he learns he's faking and he looks like his cousin. He kills him. But, imagine being alone like this. He says, I just want to have enough money to be left alone and be, completely walled off. And he's just not happy. And so I want to be the opposite. But you can't just be like, oh, everything's yours and I'm going to roll over to you. You got to be strong for your family, strong for culture, fight tyrants to build a free market system where we don't make people be Christian, but they want to be Christian because that's the way they know that's going to be successful and empower them and have them be with God forever.
Okay. I know y'all probably left and hold on.
Forever. And so it really is a fight, good versus evil. And now people that were agnostic, very famous people, are having spiritual experiences. Some of them are having incredible experiences with like angels and the Holy Spirit and God. Others are literally don't believe anything, are laying in their beds, and a huge black shadow comes in and just rips off their shirt and just huge bloody slashes across them, and then just throws them up against the wall. And then they start finding out, well, okay, what do they do? And they go to a rabbi and he says, put this Kabbalah on and do this ritual. Doesn't help them. They finally go get born again. All of it leaves. And this is happening with sane, well-known people that were, not atheists. They didn't hate Christians. They're like, come on, I don't really believe in God. And they're having the experience. Because if you don't have God around you as a defense shield, you are wide open. and the devil can't help it. And whatever this force, call it the devil, it's gotta, because if you're doing good work, but you don't know it's God and have God as literally a shield, it's like being in a submarine with screen doors. You're dead. And so this stuff's going to come in if you don't have God. And
Alex,
so that's why I'm talking about God, because I need to get closer to God. I need God. God is my refuge. God gets all the glory, not me.
Alex, you're saying accepting God, Jesus is the Lord and Savior. You're saying you have to accept Jesus. All right, well, I'm Jewish. Respect. We're the OG Christians.
Well, I'm not putting, no,
that's not what I'm asking.
No.
We have a lot of Muslim friends, a lot of Islam. Andrew Tate just turned to a Muslim.
Abrahamic faith, the whole
that's what I'm asking.
And I wasn't putting down the rabbi. This was a real story I was telling you, and that didn't work. So I'm not saying it wasn't a judgment.
That's what I'm asking.
Like this engine cleaner worked great. This one didn't. I wasn't like,
yeah. But your overall concept of faith and finding God, and a lot of you just said, sometimes I'm the God and sometimes I'm the devil, and everything's going on right there, and everything that you've uncovered with the satanic rituals and everything at the one place up in California, Bohemian Grove, and this, you talked about they're praying to the devil and they're sacrificing the children and everything like this. Do you feel like it's just a fight of believing in God versus the devil?
100%.
Is that what it comes down to?
Yeah, archetypes. I mean, for people that are, I'm not going to try to just push nothing but Christianity people, but that's what I believe. That's what I know. But absolutely, the first step is to realize there is good and evil. There's stuff we don't see. There's other dimensions. And none of these globalists are atheists. They're all into the occult. They're all into weirdness. They're all super neurotic. And, or they're super scared of God and just don't want to hear about it, like Rupert Murdoch.
Let's actually, by the way, if you want to play this clip that he was talking about with Daniel Day-Lewis, and then let's go into the Bohemian Grove.
And it's in the first minute or so.
Yeah.
Volume.
Okay, then don't worry about it. Good call. Okay,
But that's
don't-
great. Great
Pause-
scene. Andres.
Pause it, Rob. Okay, there you go. And just kind of go away from it. Okay, thank you, Andres, for that. So let's talk about Bohemian Grove. So, if for the audience that doesn't know, obviously Bohemian Grove has been done on by a lot of.
Before they go deeper into that, yeah, I appreciate y'all hanging out. We're a little bit over an hour or so. I just think this story just very interesting. I just can't believe that a person that I watched that people call crazy, you know what I'm saying, has been right upon things, wrong upon things. And it was kind of cool to finally hear a little history of what was going on with your boy. That's just me. I felt it was cool. It was great. It was cool to see what was going on. I forgot that I had to cut back to scene one. But yeah. Now, I had this little video I had seen real quick I wanted to play real fast. You know, everything got to have a commercial. Oh, actually, this doesn't have a commercial. I'm going to really go through this channel and see do they have every state. And if they have every state, I promise you.
This map has a problem. It's a map of Alabama's 7 congressional districts that are a result of gerrymandering, meaning these lines have been drawn in a way that favors one political party, in this case, Republicans. A lot of the time, gerrymandering is visually obvious, like when it produces weird-looking districts like this. In Alabama, there's one district that kind of looks like a dolphin. But the problem with this map is actually much harder to spot until you bring in another map. This one shows Alabama's black population. Now, mash these two maps together and you'll see that one of the districts has most of the black population. On June 8th, in a decision that was called unexpected, a surprise, and a victory for voting rights advocates, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down this map for being illegal. So what exactly is so bad about this map? And why is this decision such a big deal? The Voting Rights Act of 1965 said a number of things, but it had 2 main pillars. One said that certain parts of the country had to get permission from the federal government before changing any of their voting laws. In 2013, that part of the law was struck down by the Supreme Court, and these places were now free to pass new voting restrictions and close hundreds of polling locations without any oversight, and a lot of them did. The vote in the Supreme Court was 5-4, the 5 conservative justices over the 4 liberal justices. And since that time, the Supreme Court has moved farther to the right. There are now 6 conservative justices and 3 liberal justices. And that's not great news for the remaining pillar of the Voting Rights Act, Section 2, which broadly bans denying the right to vote on account of race. Over the years, Section 2 has been amended to include not just the right to vote, but the right to elect representatives. In response to that, many states have drawn districts in which a racial minority is more than 50% of the population, what are called majority minority districts. That's what we're looking at here. The idea is that these districts can help minorities elect representatives of their choice, which should lead to better proportional representation from a state. And that's where this map starts to have a problem. In Alabama, there are 6 districts in which white people are the majority and 1 where black people are the majority. These are the congressional representatives from those 7 total districts. 1 black district out of 7 is about 14%. But 27% of Alabama's population is black, which is closer to 2 out of 7. And that's why a group of black voters sued Alabama. The question for the Supreme Court was, in part, whether additional majority-minority districts can be drawn, and the court decided yes. Here's the map of the state's black population again. Put the current districts back on, and you can see 2 classic gerrymandering moves. One is that black voters in the western part of the state have been packed into 1 district. This part is actually not so sinister. To some degree, it's what enables the creation of a majority-minority district in the first place. But look at the group of black voters over here, and you can see that that group has been split between 2 districts, diluting their influence in both. That population has been cracked. And it wouldn't be hard to fix that. When this case was heard in a lower court, a mathematician presented multiple ways to draw lines that would create 2 compact majority black districts. The Supreme Court agreed. Their decision left the remaining pillar of the Voting Rights Act intact. And again by a vote of 5-4, but this time with 2 of the conservative justices voting with the liberals. That part was the surprise. But the reason this decision is such a big deal is because of what it might do outside of Alabama.
When the population of our state is 1/3 African American, and we know that it is, then simple math and simple fairness means that 2 of those districts need to be minority districts.
That's the governor of Louisiana, acknowledging a very similar situation as Alabama. And now, with the Supreme Court ruling, Louisiana could also be forced to draw a second majority Black district. Georgia, Florida, and Texas have similar problems with their maps and are now being challenged in court. Even if just one district changes hands in each of these states, the consequences could actually be huge, because this is where representatives from all those districts go, the US Congress. Which we can't even really tell from this, but right now it's under Republican control by a teeny margin, 10 votes out of 435. If one of those seats changes parties, that becomes a margin of 8, another one 6, and so on. You don't need that many seats to switch for control of Congress to flip completely. So the implications for the 2024 election are huge. We do not really know why these 2 conservative justices chose to preserve the Voting Rights Act. Was Alabama's case just particularly weak? Is it a response to the heat the court's taken over some very conservative decisions? No matter the reason, the fact that this one state's map is now illegal is a big deal for the whole country.
Sure, there's food.
That play, that always has some educational things that we dropping. I'm gonna start going to that channel a little bit more during the podcast, just to bring y'all information and bring y'all more updates and what's going on. My bad. My bad. So I'm finna get off here, y'all. It's been a good one. I'm gonna continue the Alex Jones show tomorrow, so y'all can get a good more understanding of what's going on. Y'all have a good night. Peace.